For our third panel tonight, we have two panelists with us ready to share their insight into the current and future state of development. I'll introduce each panelist and then I'll proceed to ask a few questions, much like we did in the first panel, and then open it up to the floor and those online to ask any additional questions. Tonight on our third panel, we have Michael Garrett, the Vice President of StreetSide Developments, a Qualico company. In 2015, Michael brought over 25 years of extensive industry experience to join StreetSide Developments, a multifamily division of Qualico Development, Western Canada's largest residential developer and builder. As Vice President, he oversees StreetSide Vancouver's strategic direction and operations. He has led phenomenal sales success of multiple projects, some of which have been nominated or received many notable real estate awards. Michael will be speaking to Metro Vancouver inventory challenges, pre-sales, a solution, and how buyers can protect themselves from risks associated with pre-sale. So it will build on our discussion that we had in our last panel. Our second panelist tonight is Bob Sethi. Bob is the head of marketing and sales for the Tien Sher group of companies. He manages marketing and sales for his family's group of companies. He is a graduate of UMBC and a licensed realtor. He enjoys all facets of real estate and is most passionate about creating innovative housing solutions for the changing needs of home buyers and communities. As a single father, Bob is keenly aware of what ownership means to a family and works daily to make sure that that can happen for others. So again, I will begin asking the questions and then turn it over to you. We'll start with Michael. And what demand are you currently seeing for market inventory and for pre-sale developments? Yeah, it's on.
A very strong demand. I think everybody in the development industry was sort of holding their breath with what the new year would bring. 2017 was obviously very busy with pre-sales, and with 2018 coming up, with the changes in the government and a few of the new rules, were a little skeptical. We've in talking from a very updated stuff. We have just StreetSide have launched a project in North Surrey, the Tien area called Canopy, in the last week and a half. So a month ago, we opened up reservations for people on social media and on our website. We had over 2,000 people register for 300 townhomes. 2 weeks ago, we were contacting those people to see who was interested in purchasing and inviting them to have a look at the sales center and to come in and make an appointment to the interest of buying. A week ago, we released 80 homes, 80 of the 300, and as of yesterday, we had 4 left. So the demand is definitely there. I think the right product in the right place at the right price is very important.
Where was that development, Michael?
It's in Tien area of North Surrey.
One of the questions that came up in our last panel, and it was a development in New West, was around how can purchasers protect themselves with the risks associated in pre-sale developments?
I think the most important thing is to obviously identify what those risks are. A lot of, Google's your friend. Go on the internet and find out who those developers are. What have they done in the past? The successes they've had. Feedback from homeowner associations, etc., as to how their reputation is. And just identifying those risks of, obviously with pre-sales, things can change. The market changes. If we all knew what the market has done in the last 5 years ago, we would all own multiple units, I'm sure. So to project what's going to happen in 2, 3, 4 years from now is not easy. So that's obviously one of the risks. Interest rates, another one. Obviously, there's ways to mitigate those risks through locking in mortgages or that type of a thing. So just to identify the risks that affect you in particular and then mitigate them.
Great, thanks. Maybe I'll turn to Bob for a question now. Bob, what are your thoughts on where the future of development is headed, and your thoughts on the industry right now and how it's impacting future purchasers?
Development is heading towards multifamily. It's also heading towards transit connection, amenity connection, services connection. So you're seeing any site, any development which is focused around the new transit corridors or in densified areas where you have amenity-rich locations. North Surrey, the Wally area, which City of Surrey is now dubbed City Centre, is seeing a tremendous amount of growth. Our company has approximately 2 acres there, one entire city block, 2/3 of another, and a portion of a third block. And in the time that we launched the first building there, which was back in 06, 07, for 140 units, we had 11,000 people register. And since then, we've built about 600 units there, 600 homes, and we're proceeding with building out communities there. I think the key for people to look at for new developments is look for where there's a community. Look for where there's growth happening. Because anywhere that's filled out right now, you're going to pay a lot of money for it. Whereas if you can expand your horizons and look out a little bit more, you'll find there's lots of areas and lots of different types of product that you can actually buy. It doesn't have to be the old days where it had to be a single family home with a white picket fence. Now you can get lots of amenities in a, say for example, 3-bedroom condo with a rooftop deck amenity, with grounds amenity, with schools, community centers, everything at your doorstep. And I think people need to explore those.
Is the market, are you seeing the market beginning to build those kinds of more family-oriented condos rather than the 500 or 600 square foot, 1-bedroom, small suites, especially for first-time buyers that, might be thinking about a family in the not-too-distant future?
I think what's been touched on by other speakers already in terms of new financing rules, interest rates, all those things, it's causing people who were originally looking at single family to look at townhomes. People who were looking at townhomes to look at condos. And I think the development community has already started to adjust to that. You're seeing a lot more 2-bedroom and den, even 3-bedroom condos now. And you're seeing larger townhomes, upwards of 1,800 square feet, even in areas like Richmond.
Right. So I think you're touching on an interesting topic, the whole culture within a condominium, kind of maybe creating that neighborhood feel. How do you encourage that in some of your developments?
First of all, we look for areas that we think are going to grow, where we think people will want to go not only for that's where they can get the largest home for what they can afford, but also something that has revitalization already on the horizon. City Centre, Wally area of Surrey was one. Queensborough area of New Westminster is another fantastic example of that. All the amenities were there, but there were no new homes. In that area alone, we did 3 developments with a 4th on the horizon right now.
Great. Maybe I'll turn back to Michael. We've been talking about the whole pre-sale areas. And do you have some tips for homeowners that they should consider before purchasing a pre-sale? Maybe picking up on some of Bob's comments around the kind of neighborhood and where you might want to live?
Yeah, I think one of the important things is going out there and knowing what you want when you go out looking. The communities that are available, are you looking for the amenity space? Not everybody wants the big swimming pool or the billiards room and those type of things. So, certainly investigate what's being offered. As from our side of the business, doing townhomes mostly, for us, the most popular thing, a 1,400 square foot 3-bed townhome is very appealing to families, young families. I love going back to my projects once they're under construction or phases have been built in to see, 2 young moms walking their kids or kids playing in the street, that type of thing. So, yeah, the community part is very important. Great.
Maybe one for either of you, this whole concept of micro living. Do you have any particular thoughts on that? We're seeing it more and more in Vancouver with very, very small units. Do you see a future for that in certain markets?
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously a lot of it is in quantum price point pricing, you know, what are you going to get for $500,000 in Vancouver downtown versus what you're going to get in Surrey, where you may get a 1,400 square foot townhome. So the living is quite different. I think if we can, and I'm sure you guys have probably looked at it, but smaller units in areas like Surrey or Richmond, where you have access to SkyTrains, if it brings the price point down, if somebody can afford to buy something for $200,000, absolutely, I think there's going to be a demand for it.
Right. Bob?
So this touches on our development that we did in North Surrey, which was called Balance. And we called it Balance because it was 56 units. It was a small building by today's standards, but they were all what's called micro suites. And the interesting thing about it was the first for sale micro suite building. We'd found out later that it was the first one in North America. And these were units as small as 350, 360 square feet, where everything was built into the home, including beds. You could put everything you want, desk, it's all in there. And the idea was that anybody who was working, from somebody working in retail or service, food service, to young professionals just entering the market who wanted a place of their own. They could purchase there, it would be new, they could build equity, and again, all the services, all the amenities, transit, including SkyTrain, all within minutes of your door. And that building sold out very successfully. We've had people from across North America, we've had real estate tour companies from the United States, and it is a direction that it can go. Right now, we're incorporating some of those style suites into our other buildings, but we are making sure that our buildings have homes for everybody. So everybody from that group that we just described, to young families, to even people who need 3 bedrooms, who just want a nice, simple, cleaner lifestyle where they can go out and enjoy themselves rather than beholden to a mortgage.
Great. Maybe I'll open it up to those online and those in the audience. Any comments or questions? We have one up front here.
Could you gentlemen just walk us through exactly what happens mechanistically when pre-sales go on the market? I mean, we've heard mention of you have people registering for them, but then what actually happens in terms of the marketing process? You then have some subset that are offered for sale. How does it work in terms of who gets first call? And we seem to hear in the newspapers about other people getting even first year first, if you see what I mean. So how does that actually happen? Is it an email blitz that goes out once they're released? Do your representatives start calling people? If you could flesh that out in more detail, that'd be great.
It's a very good question. And I'll just run through the process that we've been through. In the past, it was sort of big launch date, open to the public, advertise it as much as you can, that sort of thing. And then, what happened over the past, I think, 2 or 3 years in particular, where you show up and you've got people lined up down the street, round the block, people camping out overnight. It just really, the purchaser's unhappy before he even steps in the sales center. So we've gone away from that altogether. So what we've done on this latest project is we put it out there and we date stamp when everything comes in email, so we know exactly when the people have replied. We actually, the website was up, people could take a look at it, they could respond either on that or other social media ways. And so we built up this list of, it started off at maybe as much as 4,000, but a lot of people that just aren't that interested, just sort of looking out of it, boiled it down to 2,000 people that were really interested in it. From that, we sent an email saying to everybody, if you are serious about buying, please let us know. We're going to start looking at emails, and we said 9 o'clock Monday morning. So if you emailed at 5 to 9, you didn't get through, it wouldn't go. 9 o'clock they came in, so we had them all in order. We had 600 people saying that they wanted to come in, have a look, and make an appointment to write. And we went top to bottom, phoned people up. If they couldn't make it, we tried to fit them into appointments. We take about, with our sales staff, we're able to take about 10 appointments a day. And on average, we've been probably 8 out of those 10 people have written contracts. But again, it's one of the things we need to emphasize, if you want to get onto those lists, is you've got to get emails in there, you've got to be in early. We're planning to open our sales center to the public at the end of this month. I don't think we'll have any units left. So if that answers your question.
Raises one for me. Do you even need a sales center then?
You do, because people want to see what they're going to get.
Right.
So we in the townhouse market, it's
and...
easy. We build a building.
Right.
We have turned one into a sales center and one into a display home, so they can see the quality. They can see what's been done.
Great. Bob, comments on the pre-sale process?
Yeah. I think every developer, their pre-sale process is slightly different because everybody's working with different timelines for when they're getting marketing materials, when they can release different offerings. I think my point for this is going to be is that if you want to get on one, if you want to purchase one of those homes, we look at it as a collaborative process between our sales teams and the people who are interested to buy. We can provide certain information, but we need the home buyers to also answer as soon as they can, because the quicker we can get that information back, the quicker we can get you into a time slot so you can be one of the first to buy. At the end of the day, 10 people is what a salesperson can handle in a daytime. It's also a number of phone calls that happen before that, information being passed back and forth. We tend to find that people who are looking at what we're selling for investment purposes, they're looking at it in terms of, here's our number, what can we get? When you're a home buyer, you're looking for a home, which is a completely different set of criteria. And that's where your sales center does come into effect. You do need to see it, touch it, feel it. You want to bring your family in there. I'm not saying don't do that when you're a home buyer, but try to lean a little bit towards the investor way of thinking so that you can get the home that you want as opposed to somebody else grabbing it.
Great, thank you. A question back there?
Hi, my question is, I've noticed that there's been almost a commercialization of pre-sales where one individual will represent 50, 60, almost 100 or maybe more buyers, myself included. I mean, it's quite difficult to compete with something like that. Do you guys put more weight on an individual that can bring in that much business as opposed to a local?
Actually, we don't do that. One of the things we do is very specifically tell realtors that the maximum of 2 clients, that's it, at a time. We don't let them come in and do a block booking. But I know that does happen, and I don't know if there's a way around that.
It does happen in this market. Sorry, is this the one?
Yeah, I think so, just.
Okay. It does still happen. And one thing that home buyers need to understand is that it is a business. The developers are building homes to sell. They do have to satisfy the bank. They do have to satisfy their own investors and pay their staff. So they do want to sell it. And if they don't sell the building, then every dollar that they put into bringing that to the market, they've just lost it. So they need to get that building sold. Now, what was said is true. There are caps that are put on even these, what some people will call a whale. There's caps on it because you can't rely on one person. You need to open up to the public. And I think all developers are doing that. We're all keeping it open to home buyers because ultimately that's who we're building homes for, people who want to live in them.
Thank you.
We'll go to a person online, Vanessa.
I actually have 2 questions from 2 different people. The first one is, would it help the buyer to get into a pre-sale to be pre-qualified to show their intent, or is there any other strategies to stand out?
Yeah, definitely get pre-qualified, especially in this market with the way that the financing rules just seem to keep changing at any given moment. Get pre-qualified, keep your pre-qualification rolling. That's when your mortgage advisor will just keep updating it. If the rates fall, they'll update it that way. As far as any other strategies, I already touched on it. If you are on the pre-sale list, when your sales representative contacts you, do try to get them the information that they're requesting, because it'll help them move you up the list so that you'll be one of the first people in there.
Michael, comment?
Yeah, I agree. Pre-qualification, absolutely. And also, really, we find a lot of people not really knowing exactly how much money they have, believe it or not. Know what your maximum spend is. When you see a townhome that's $569, you know that there's PPT, there's GST, there's foreign buyers tax, all those type of things. So know what your max spend is and be pre-qualified for that.
We'll take another online question, Vanessa.
The other question is, how do you calculate strata costs per month on pre-sales?
We put a budget together and have the company that's going to be the strata manager vet that, and it's in the disclosure statement. We have a very good idea. For instance, townhomes we know runs around 12 to 13 cents a square foot. We have other projects we've done that's where the number is. And we're also, with the disclosure statement, you are protected. The first year is guaranteed that it'll be a balanced budget by the developer. So you do have protection.
Bob, a comment?
The comment earlier on Google is your friend and research your developer. Do research your developer, because any developer who wants to keep building homes, they don't want a reputation of minimizing what the strata fees are going to be, having an entire complex of people upset at them when they're trying to sell more homes. Having said that, property managers also don't want to get fired in the first year. So anybody who's asked to provide a budget is going to give a pretty accurate budget. But when you, as the home buyer, look at the disclosure statement, and the budget will be in there, examine it, take a look at it. Is there snow removal? Is there, how many times a week are they budgeting for garbage removal? Does the landscaping budget for the year look kind of skimpy, especially if you have lots of parkland around, which is part of the development, and they've got a minimum amount for landscaping? That should be a red flag for you. That means they're only looking at servicing a little portion of it. You don't want too high a strata fee, but you want a healthy strata fee there, so you know that you're not going to get hit with special assessments over and over again. So do your research, and don't be afraid to ask an expert. You know, contact your lawyer, contact a property manager, talk to people.
I have time for one more question from the audience. Any final question? One here.
What do you find is the ratio now for new builds, like being concrete versus wood? And what are the costs now and related to concrete versus wood frame?
Concrete buildings obviously are a lot more expensive to buy, again, depending on your areas. I think I used to say that Vancouver was $1,200 a foot. I think it's hitting $2,000, $2,200 a foot in some areas downtown. Wood frame, we're selling townhomes around $400 a square foot, so quite a bit different. Obviously, construction costs is a very big difference. Right now with construction downtown is hitting I believe as close to $400 a square foot for construction costs, whereas wood frame, especially out in the valley, we can still build townhomes for $150 a square foot. So there's a big difference with that, quite different markets.
So do you find there's still a lot of, have you seen a reduction of concrete builds now? Has everyone gone wood frame because it's too expensive, or?
I just have a quick answer for that. No, I think that obviously concrete definitely has a place because of the higher density. So anything around the SkyTrain stations, the transit-oriented development areas is all going to be concrete. I think you're going to see buildings get taller and actually more dense as you get further away from the SkyTrain stations. You'll see 6-story, 4-story, going down to townhomes.
Comment on that, Bob?
Yeah, what you're going to see is anything that's along the main route. So I'll take North City Center in Surrey right now. Anything that's along King George Boulevard, it's going to be a tower. It's going to be concrete, and they're going to make it as high as they can. As you move outwards from there, they're going to transition to lower concrete or mid-rise wood frame. So mid-rise wood frame is now a 6-story wood frame building. It's a good building. We built the first one in BC, and it's a way to bridge the gap between concrete living and wood frame. And as you move out from there, you're going to get into townhouses and single family. It's just a spread. So somebody who specializes in concrete, they're going to keep building concrete. We started off in single family, and then we moved to townhouses, and now we're into wood frame condo buildings. So we're growing, but it's because that's the company we are. And all the companies have done this. So there's a place for all these types of homes, and it's up to the developers to keep answering the needs of home buyers to build the types of homes that they need within the type of building that they are experts at.
Great. Thank you. Please join me in thanking Michael Garrett and Bob Sethi for a very insightful panel. Our last panel of the evening is entitled It's Time to Go Shopping, featuring Wendy Atchison of BC Housing to discuss the benefits of new home warranty, Tony Giaventu of the Condo Homeowners Association to talk about navigating the world of strata corporations, Gio Odell of the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver with tips on working with a realtor, and Brad Fortis Brad Ricketts from Fortis BC educating us on some of the energy considerations when purchasing a new home. Again, we'll take another 10-minute break for you to stretch your legs, and then we'll be back in about 10 minutes to begin our fourth panel. Thanks again, and just a reminder to fill out those evaluation forms.